What changed? Is it just cannabis, or is there something else going on?
You know, it's one of those years where everything is going right. I think the consumer is willing to reach into their wallet. We got a lot of new products. That's going well. The retailers are, I think, in the fight for the consumer against Amazon, and lawn and garden is a part of that for them that they think is special and different than online. So retailers are in, we're in, consumers are in. Weather has not been great, but it's not been terrible either.
Right. This is on just a consumer level, nothing regarding mass production, mass gardening at scale. Is it mostly homes?
Yeah, it's where that's our conventional brands, Miracle-Gro and Scotts and Ortho. Those are consumer brands for use in home.
How closely are you watching what happens with mortgages and home sales and new construction?
A lot. Well, listen, we feel really positive about sort of the growing group of millennials that are coming in, and I think same with Depot and Lowe's, looking and saying there's just a lot of pent-up demand for homes, and that's got to be good for us down the road for people who they're having kids and you want yards and dogs and all that.
There's been a lot written about farmers. I mean, we saw what happened with corn yesterday, just for one example. It's been a tough growing season. That's not been evident.
It's not been a great season, but sales are really good. So it's one of those things where...
Why is that? Is that because homeowners will plant a vegetable garden regardless of how wet a spring it is?
Look, I think our marketing is up. I think we're taking a different approach to sort of digital marketing. And I think the retailers are promoting us really heavily right now. And I think the consumers, they want a yard and garden. And so they're buying in spite of the fact that there's been big patches of rain.
Let's talk pot a little bit.
Okay.
You had a pretty lively earnings call with some of the analysts. In fact, it got attention because you used a profanity in your earnings call.
I tend to do that.
Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about the expectations, how it's changing, and what lights the fire, so to speak, under the growth for your pot business.
Well, if politicians could stay out of the business and not screw it up, that would be pretty helpful. I mean, both at the federal level and the state level.
But wait, you want Congress to get involved and take action, so you don't really want them to stay out of your business.
California, you would assume California goes recreational. How could that be bad? They have really cut the amount of people who are allowed to legally grow. It's pretty bad. But what would I say? The business is doing fantastic. You look at a state like Michigan. Michigan is up like 70% in a quarter, like 40% for the year, and that's without anything sort of happening legally that gets in the way of the business. Florida is up about the same numbers, like over 50% for the year. So businesses where the politicians sort of stay away. Do we want the politicians to, at the federal level especially, help on banking? This is a business that's twice the size. If you look at all, black market, legal, it's twice the size of craft beer, and these guys have no access to the credit markets. The tax rate, because of 280E, which basically says if you are in a federally illegal business, you cannot deduct your business expenses, their tax rate's like 80%. So going legal is really tough right now, and the majority of Americans, Republicans, Democrats, old, young, support legalization. The president said he supported legalization.
And the states like what it's doing for their revenue, although in many cases it's not bringing in the kind of revenue they had thought.
I don't know. If you look at Colorado, California, and Washington State, I think they brought in about $1 billion in tax,
When you look at the appetite on Capitol Hill to tackle the federal legalization of marijuana, how important is that for businesses like Hawthorne that you don't grow pot, but you provide the lighting and the nutrients for the farmers who do?
I think if the politicians could do anything, it would be appreciated. Banking especially, and tax. But Cory Gardner has a bill in the Senate. It's called the states. All it says is something as simple as this. I mean, literally as simple as this. If it's legal in a state, it's legal from a banking point of view and a tax point of view. I think getting the votes to deschedule would be hard, but I think the States Act goes a long way to saying let the states decide what they want to do in their own states, and don't try to tackle like descheduling right now.
Have you been active in trying to push certain states over the edge, like Jersey or New York, where it's come close?
It's been pretty frustrating, I have to say. Both New Jersey and New York are mondo states. As a conservative, I have a point of view that this is not about making drugs more available. It's about getting them out of schools. And, a lot of what we saw up in Albany at the end of the session was which we were pretty active in, was kind of the Long Island group of senators who are Democrats that took Republican seats that are scared about this next election cycle. And there was a lot of liberal stuff happening up in Albany. But I think schools, this is getting it out of schools. It's a lot easier for our kids to buy pot in school than it is for adults. Maybe not in New York City, but go to Long Island and that would be the case. So if you could tax it, control it, get it out of schools, keep it with adults, I think how you do that, how you get the cops to go on board with traffic stops, testing to say, how do you stop people from drug driving?